All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I'm Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to talk about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. This is our weekly update edition, so we're going to take a look at what happened to Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners this week. We're also going to take a look at a 5-week trend, an 18-week trend, and then I want to take a look at what's happened year to date. But before we do all of that, I want to talk about a few things that we haven't talked about in a while, a few new items to go through, some trends that are happening with Bitcoin, and take a little bit of a bigger picture approach to what's going on here. So I hope you guys will enjoy this. Please remember to smash the like button. We're going for 500 likes on this video, so you guys have been doing an unbelievable job of smashing the like button. It's much appreciated. It helps the channel out a lot. Also, if you have not subscribed, we recently hit 15,000 subscribers, so I want to thank everybody for helping us reach that goal. And remember, if you have not yet subscribed, if you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, let's talk about Bitcoin. A few things first. Number one, I want to talk about something that's going on with Bitcoin fees in the month of November. And this is a big deal, in my opinion. This is the second time that this has happened, and it is not getting priced into the Bitcoin miners at all. In November, the Bitcoin mining fees have skyrocketed. So what does this mean for the Bitcoin miners? Every time a Bitcoin miner mines a block, they also get to collect all the fees that were charged in all the transactions inside of that block. That's usually a fairly small number. Over the course of the years, it's been anywhere from 0.1 to 0.2 Bitcoin. Sometimes it pops up a little higher, 0.3, 0.4 Bitcoin, but it's usually a very small number. Well, this is now the second time in the last year that this number has more than 10x'd. The fees over the course of the month of November, I would estimate, are probably going to average about 1.5 Bitcoin per block. That's pretty much 10 times the normal fee. As a byproduct of this increase in fees, the Bitcoin miners' numbers should go up pretty considerably in the month of November. So I'm expecting the vast majority of the Bitcoin miners to beat their October numbers and to beat them soundly. Any Bitcoin miner that doesn't beat their October production numbers by at least 10%, I think they're going to have to explain exactly why that would be. So that's something that I would be looking for. We're a few weeks away from getting these monthly reports. As you guys know, the Bitcoin miners do provide a monthly update every single month. So we're going to see exactly what November looked like. But again, I am expecting some record numbers in the month of November for the Bitcoin miners. Okay, that's number one. Bigger picture than that, I want to take a look at two charts really quickly. This is a chart of the last 3 months. So I want to show everybody, between the middle of August and really the middle of October, we really headed sideways. We were bouncing off of 25,000. I can tell you from the comments on this channel and from just watching other YouTube videos, the comments in our Discord, in our members only Discord, people were getting extremely discouraged with Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. Well, what came out of that? This bottom here in the middle of September, we bounced off of 25,000 and we had a nice channel upwards. And what this ended up in was a massive pump to the upside. And now we've had another very nice channel moving up. So we've moved from 25,000 to about 37,000 in just, a couple of months. Okay, this is the Bitcoin chart. This is exactly the last 1 year. This is a meaningful time frame because Bitcoin actually bottomed out on November 21st. That was a double bottom. So you're going to see, once again, a gigantic upward channel for the last year. While there may have been times in the middle where it did not feel good, and we did have several pullbacks, from that day to the highs of a few days ago, Bitcoin's up almost 150% in the last 1 year. And this is all before we get to the halving and really before we get into what is typically the bull part of the 4-year cycle. So this is a very strong run, but this is actually common. In fact, in the previous 3 Bitcoin mining 4-year halving cycles, Bitcoin ran up 300% sometime in the middle, in between halvings, not including the runs to its new all-time highs. So I don't know that we're going to get a 300%, but we're at 150%, and I do think there's more room left to the upside for that reason. So I just want to remind everybody and show everybody, particularly here on the 1-year anniversary of what essentially turned out to be a 5-year low for Bitcoin. We're now in a much healthier place, and I expect good things ahead. So, not financial advice. This is just my opinion, but I do think it's important to see this full year trend moving in the right direction. Okay, now let's go through some of our charts, and then after that, I'm going to give you a quick prediction on what I think is going to happen to some of these Bitcoin miners in both directions, because I think there's going to be some gigantic moves ahead. Let's take a look at the charts. This is the chart for the last 1 week of activity. So you're going to see last week Bitcoin was down 2%. We have the NASDAQ on here in purple, up 2%. So a lot of the Bitcoin miners were green last week, despite the fact that you're going to see Bitcoin here in gold down 2%. So we're starting to get a little bit healthier with the Bitcoin miners. But however, when we look at the next couple of charts, you're going to see the Bitcoin miners have been underperforming really for the second half of the year here in 2023. And even this week, there was some Bitcoin miners that had a very difficult week. You're going to see Cypher was down 17%, Grief 15%, Hut was down 12%, and still a lot of the Bitcoin miners did underperform Bitcoin. But on the flip side of the coin, we had TeraWulf up 8%, CleanSpark up 5%, Marathon, which is tied for the largest by market cap, up 4%. We did have some moves in both directions. So the last 5 weeks for Bitcoin have been very, very strong. So I want to see how the Bitcoin miners have performed. If we look at this 5-week period, it's a decent picture. Almost all of the Bitcoin miners are in green. 14 of the 19 that we follow are in green. 4 of them are still in the red, meaning they're down in this 5-week period. But the one thing that's still concerning here, you're going to see Bitcoin in gold up 36% in this 5-week period. Bitcoin's outperforming all but one of the Bitcoin miners in the last 5-week period, which was a massive bull run for Bitcoin. In this period of time, Bitcoin hit a new 2023 high for the year. It took out the old high by $5,000. You're going to see the only stock that's outperforming Bitcoin is DMG, which is a very small nano cap stock. And then the one that's closest to it is GREE, which is another nano cap stock. Now, I will say there are a couple of strong performers on here. Marathon's up 30% in this period of time. That is underperforming Bitcoin, but it is very strong performance. It's also worth noting that of all the large caps, that is the strongest performance. And in this 5-week period of time, they released an at-the-market shelf offering of $750 million. So you would think typically that would be a time maybe where a stock would pull back, but Marathon's done the opposite. They also released their financial results for September 30th, and I think the market liked those a lot, so I did do a deep dive on those. The other decent-sized market cap that's moving nicely is actually Bitfarms, up 25%. You'll see after that, it drops off to Riot, up 15%, and then down from there. So even Riot up 15%, that's less than half of what Bitcoin did in this 5-week period. I also want to talk about the bottom of this list because there are 5 stocks that were in the red in this 5-week period where Bitcoin was on a roll. These stocks were all down in this 5-week period where Bitcoin hit its high for the year. This chart's even a little bit more meaningful. This is the last 18 weeks. I will tell you the first 4 months of the year, the Bitcoin miners were off to the races. They drastically overperformed Bitcoin. While Bitcoin was up 60 or 70 or 80%, the Bitcoin miners were up 300%, 400%, 500%. So they ran out ahead in a big way. So the last 18 weeks, there's been a big correction. So you can see this has been a very difficult time. I think the Bitcoin miners are due for a run up between now and the halving. This was a little bit of a reset. They have lagged behind, and I'm not saying that run is going to start immediately. I do think you're going to see with the next breakout, the next leg up for Bitcoin, I think the Bitcoin miners are going to start to outperform and become the leveraged plays on Bitcoin that they typically have been in the past. That's my personal opinion. We'll see what happens. Okay, then just to keep things in perspective, this is year to date. So you're going to see this chart is still very green. So despite the fact that the last 18 weeks have been very difficult, most of the Bitcoin miners are still up over 100%. Bitcoin is up 120% since the beginning of the year. We saw it's up almost 150% off of its lows from 1 year ago today. So you're going to see the bunch of these are still up over 200%. A lot of these are right around on par with Bitcoin. And then you're going to see 3 still in the red. I've been saying for quite some time, almost all year, I think there's going to be winners and losers in this space over the next 12 to 18 months. You're seeing the market start to pick which ones they think are going to be the losers possibly. So some of these you have to decide. Some of these that are performing at the same level or less than Bitcoin, are these bargains? Are these companies that are doing well that maybe are due for a run? Or are these down for a reason? Are these underperforming Bitcoin for a reason? Is the market starting to price in the fact that maybe some of these companies aren't going to make it? To that point, I'm going to tell you 2 things that I think are going to happen between now and the peak of the next Bitcoin cycle, which should be sometime between 12 and 18 months from now, in my opinion. So I think you're going to see at least 5 Bitcoin miners, at least 10x, some of which may 20x, and some of the nano caps may do even more than that. in the next 18-month window, in my opinion. I think there's some massive upside if you're picking the winners here. Again, in my opinion, I think there's going to be some winners and some losers. On the flip side of that, I think there's going to be at least 5 of these companies that are gone 12 to 18 months from now. So I don't think everybody's going to make it. I don't think this is going to be across the board 10 or 20 or 30 or 50x. So a lot of these companies don't need Bitcoin to be at $50,000 or $60,000 or $70,000. A lot of these companies don't even need Bitcoin to be at $40,000 at the halving. There are several of these companies that even if Bitcoin's between $20,000 and $30,000, they're going to do just fine at the halving. It's not maybe what they would prefer, but they are set up financially to make that. The question to me is not what the price of Bitcoin is going to be at the halving. It's what is the price of Bitcoin going to be 6 months after the halving and 12 months after the halving. If you're bullish on Bitcoin and you think that the 4-year cycle is going to continue and we are going to reach new all-time highs, then I don't think it matters that much where Bitcoin is at the halving for the companies that are strong on this list. So those are my 2 thoughts. I think you're going to have some big winners in the next 18 months. And then I think you're going to have some of these companies that don't make it at all. I think there'll be at least 5 in both of those categories. And depending on which way Bitcoin goes, there could be either one of those categories could end up being potentially up to 10. So those are my thoughts on what's going on with Bitcoin. That's a little bit of a bigger picture. Again, everybody, please try to remember the last 1 year, we've had a massive run up in Bitcoin. We're up about 140 to 150% off of the lows from just 1 year ago. So hopefully this helps put things in perspective for everybody. So that's what's going on with Bitcoin this week. That's what's going on with Bitcoin this year. That's all I got for you right now. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, if you enjoy this content, please remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and of course, smash the like button. So thanks again, and we will see you in the next video.